Beijing has long taken issue with President Lai, labeling him a dangerous separatist just days before his inauguration last May. And relations between the two countries haven't improved much since then. Reece Ayers is live in our Taipei newsroom with more on this fraught relationship. Reece, what's China saying now on the one-year anniversary of Lai's presidency?
Well, actually, nothing. No official diplomatic response from Beijing just yet. Their Foreign Affairs Ministry held a press conference this afternoon, and there was no mention of Taiwan there at all. That press conference came just hours after President Lai Ching-te held his press conference here in Taipei on the one-year anniversary of his inauguration. He too didn't directly mention China initially until he was prompted by a reporter, and here's what he had to say.
我在这里再次重申，只要对等尊严，台湾很乐意跟中国进行交流合作，透过交流来取代围堵，透过对话来取代对抗，朝和平共荣的方向来发展。
Now, some pretty unprovocative comments there from the president. In terms of other responses from China, there hasn't been much of a military response yet either, other than the kind of day-to-day incursions that we've come to expect here in Taiwan. Despite no official response, we have had some comments from people, Chinese citizens on the ground in Shanghai, who were apparently paying close attention to President Lai Ching-te's speech. And here's what one man had to say.
我注意到他采访当中有说到说什么加强台湾的国防力量，然后去跟大陆去做一个尊严上面去平等的一个。其实，我觉得这跟我们大陆一直去主张的一个中国原则其实是有一点相违背的。那我觉得，可以能在这个方面再做一些协商跟沟通吧。
Now, despite the muted response from Beijing, officials here in Taiwan say that they are still on high alert. They're possibly anticipating some military action from China around Taiwan in the coming days. China has a habit of flexing their military muscles during moments like these. For example, last year, just 3 days after President Lai's inauguration on May 20th, China started the Joint Sword A military drills around Taiwan. It was some of the biggest such drills that we've ever seen and simulated actually a full blockade of the country.
Speaking of military action, in the 12 months since President Lai was sworn in, we've seen a lot of military flexing from China. What kinds of actions have we seen China take since May last year?
Yeah, well, we've seen a lot of incursions into Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ. That's not Taiwan's official airspace, but they do use it as kind of a buffer zone against China. There was a dramatic increase in the number of incursions from 2023 to 24, almost doubling in those years. Remember, Lai, he started campaigning for the presidency in late 2023. He won the election in January of 24 and was then inaugurated in May of 24. And that brings us now to May of 2025. And going by the number of incursions so far this year, it looks like we're on track for another increase in terms of year-on-year incursions. And that's not to mention maritime incursions, which has been a hot topic recently here in Taiwan, especially after a lot of illegal smaller boat crossings from China to Taiwan. There were 2 just last week and another one just this morning. And Taiwan's Coast Guard fear that those could be China's ongoing grey zone warfare tactics. Those are attempts by Beijing to kind of slowly chip away at Taiwan's sovereignty and defense capabilities by means other than, starting a direct conflict. Other examples of grey zone warfare tactics include recruiting spies here in Taiwan, of which there have been a couple of high-profile cases recently, particularly involving military officials. It also includes, cyber attacks, disinformation campaigns, and attempts by Beijing to get people outside of China on their agenda of eventually unifying Taiwan with China. And with China having a tendency to react with military might around these politically sensitive times, there are hopes here in Taiwan that the lack of diplomatic response isn't just the calm before the storm.
Thanks, Reece. That was Reece Ayers reporting from our Taipei newsroom.